And now we'd like to welcome the Reverend Kareem Beldjilali.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I can't say how joyful I am at seeing you all and all of you doing well and okay. I was holding my breath a little bit last couple days. And as excited as I always am to meet you all, this one had a special kind of meaning behind it just because of what was going on. Watching this French hurricane kind of seemingly make a straight beeline towards what your community. It's I'm thrilled to see you all today. Thank you for welcoming me. So, I've rewritten this thing like about a dozen times, wondering how I might incorporate a hurricane into this thing. So I'm just going to own it right here, right now, and say there's no hurricane in this thing. And maybe that's just perfect for exactly what we're experiencing. But there was a real consideration of the nature of being and where we are, especially in this, this summer of freedom, as it's been called, this reawakening, this reconnecting that we're all doing. It really gave me great pause to stop and think about what and how truth is playing. It's always playing out, but how it is coming so to life in our time together, in our reconnecting, in this moment of blossoming. Whether it is showing up as taking stock of our blessings, the ability to connect with communities, those that we love, resuming a sense of normalcy, seeing the miracle that has been not just the vaccine itself, but the healthcare workers, teachers, first responders, all the folks that have kept things together. And realizing that there's a deeper truth as well regarding our freedom, our responsibility, and how we may be given such blessings, but without an awareness, we can continue reliving the exact thing that has brought us pain, has brought us to a place of separation. That the truth itself matters so much, and yet can be treated with perhaps disregard or carelessness or neglect. Yet it still is there, working, doing its thing. It compels us. It propels us. It moves us forward. A lot of us have made changes in whether it's where we live, how we love, how we express. And truth has also dispelled us of that which no longer serves us. That it is this great gift, but a troublesome gift. A gift that requires us to show up. A gift that asks of us to see, to listen, to be. And that's what I want to focus on today in this sharing. You've actually, in your prayers and in your music, already have touched on all these things. Is that the truth is here to bring us alive, to remind us of who we are, whose we are. And that's going to be my working definition of truth right now. It's what brings us alive. What instills joy, peace, wonder, love, whatever word deeply resonates with you. And not a word just on an individualistic sense, but a communal one, a global one that serves the greater good. How does truth compel, propel, and dispel in our lives? And the title of this talk is Hallowed Truth, but it's really about allowed truth. How we can be the open channel for truth to move through us. And what we can do, be, and perhaps create a space for, most importantly, for truth to live within us, through us, and as us. The Tao puts it this way, and it is pretty upfront about this all not being a cakewalk. No one's saying this is easy. This is an invitation towards evolution, to growth, to life itself. The Tao puts it this way. It says, and I love this because it's even quoting something older than itself. It says that there's an old saying: the clear way seems clouded, the straight way seems crooked, the sure way seems unsteady. The greatest power seems weak, the purest white seems tainted, the abundant seems empty. The stable seems shaky, the certain seems false. The great square has no corners. The great vessel is never filled. That wisdom, that paradoxical wisdom, that clarity and cloudedness, that the path forward may be crooked, what may seem sure may be unsteady, is the human journey in these bodies, holding the divine and the human. And we'll pretend for a moment that they're separate things. But we know deep in our hearts that that is our journey. It is one journey. And I want to invite you for a moment to just pause and ponder. What is true for you? What truth are you wrestling with, or perhaps cognizant of and grateful for today in your life? Hold that. Let's explore it together. The first question that may arise is, this thing means so much to me, yet how can it cause me such challenge or perhaps heartache? How can it seem so clouded, crooked, unsteady, empty, shaky? If I believe that all things are love, how can I experience so much what doesn't seem like love? If I believe in my abundance, or that I am worthy of happiness, how could it be that I know so much of what seems like not that? How can the center of truth seem like not truth? Socrates said it. He said, an unexamined life is not worth living. And I would offer to you then that an unexamined truth is not worth being lived. That yes, this truth that you may be pondering or wrestling with, it is a crown jewel of your heart, but it is only polished by the time that we take to examine it, to raising the veil, as the song we just listened to said, to finding place where there is deep connection, not separation. And how many times do we find ourselves living out a truth in this unexamined life or unexamined truth that just no longer serves us, no longer uplifts, connects, or deepens? May we be finding ourselves living in autopilot, finding ourselves in the midst of race consciousness or living in fear. Maybe it's ego and separation, as Connie said in her prayer, forgetting from whence you came. Or could it be also in curiosity? That thing that keeps us from really understanding what is true for us and true for all of us. Comfort may be one of the greatest obstacles to examining a life, to examining a truth, to polishing and being with. We like what we know, or so we think. But do we really know what we like? What is true for us? And so this is where I went. This was the hurricane of me writing this talk. Let me tell you, I was wondering up and down the line about what is our relationship to truth? How does it show up and live in our lives? How do we engage? How conscious are we? And how do we foster and cultivate a relationship of consciousness where that which goes unexamined comes fully alive by us having a deep, connected relationship to it? And we have all types of language for this. Connection to God, connection to love, being in nature. But I want to offer three things that have kind of bubbled up for me and I have found to be gifts. That surprised me a bit as I have been given the gift of speaking today. First one that comes to me, which surprised me, was the idea of care. That at the heart of truth is this calling to care. And that this calling to care is our heaven. Because we know that when we are separated from truth, we are in this place of pain, of separation, or seeming separation. In the Quran, this is known as hell. And they put it this way in the Quran. It says, we are urged to hell, having hearts with which we choose not to understand. Eyes with which we choose not to see. Ears with which we choose not to listen. We are as cattle. No, but we are worse. We are the neglectful. We are compelled by truth away from neglect and towards care. Care for ourselves, care for each other. It may be one of the singular ways that we can connect with the idea that God loves us, that we are love, that love is the language of the universe. So our question may be, are we turning away from anything that is before us? Turning away from anything that is true, that is the truth? What may we be neglecting? Is it compassion? Is it presence in listening? As the Quran said, eyes with which we choose not to see, hearts with which we choose not to understand, eyes and ears with which we choose not to listen. Are we neglecting being present? Are we neglecting to be trustful or trusting? So that imperative of care I offer to you as one of the foundations of truth. It is its input and its output. We care more when we are grounded in truth, and we are more in truth and aligned with truth through our caring. So let us be mindful of the neglect, the things we put on the shelf that we've put on hold, that we've said not yet to or no to self-care, self-love. And the big one for me is trust, because I believe that that is the next invitation of truth. That one of the great ways of being of great care to oneself is the act of letting go. It's where truth may come alive within us and around us, where we really get to allow. It's not about our control anymore. It's not about our doing, what we have, any of the stuff that can do so much to distract. But we're compelled by truth, by care, to an act of surrender. To let something flourish, to let it go. Not give it up or give up, but to let go. Open our hands, our hearts, our minds, our ears, our eyes, so that we can choose something new. Once I change my mind, God will show me how. Your words. So this truth that is beckoning us to let go, because we've struggled, because it's not making sense, because we need another perspective, because one of the most powerful things we can say as human beings is, I need help. I can't do this. I need another perspective. Thy will be done. This is a hallowing out. And this can feel brutal, as if it is something that will break us, undo us. But that is not the truth. We are being hallowed, made holy, consecrated through our lives by the truth, for the truth, and as the truth. It is an invitation to more of life. And it doesn't feel like it most of the time, but it is. As the Tao says, surrender brings perfection. And it goes even further and says, surrender brings perfection is not just empty words. Truly, surrender brings perfection, and perfection brings the whole universe. And so perfection is a form of truth. The ideal, being true to form. And I would offer you that it truly comes when we let go. That truth that I invited you to ponder, it may seem a bit unfair to say, now let it go. But no one is asking us to give up. We are asked to detach from results, from thinking we know, from being a known quantity or a known way, from having expectations, from really being planted in the past. This surrender is about detachment, not being so attached to something that it has no room to grow, no life to give. So one of the metaphors might be that surrender is like fallow ground, the ground that is left to rest, to regenerate between these seasons of planting and harvesting. Because if we want that harvest, there will need to be a moment, just like the in-breath and the out-breath, when there is a pause, when there is a letting go, when there is a surrender. Sometimes you're ahead, the Tao says, and other times behind. Sometimes you're strong and other times weak. Sometimes you're with people and other times alone. To the sage, all of life is a movement towards perfection. All of life is a movement towards truth. And so the last gift I think of that was a surprise to me in terms of truth is that it is evolving. Now, for some of us, truth can be understood best as the concept of God. Now, I would offer to you that God has evolved. That God of the Old Testament and the New Testament are quite different. That God, through continuous creation, must evolve. As the Tao said, the great vessel, that great vessel, life, is never filled. The great square has no corners. And so this evolution is one of great humility for all of us, for all of creation. That God, love, your being, your spirit, your heart, it's filled and it's never filled. It's never, the great square has no corners, it's never fully squared away. Because that's what life is. It's continually evolving. And truth grows within us. And our charge is to show up and co-create that truth through our great capacity for care and compassion, even when it seems like we're on our knees. It's still there. And for that act of surrender, of letting go and remaining present. And the trust in that process. And I would say the last thing is the joy in knowing that there is something next, that we are evolving, that we are being made to let go so that there's a space within us, hollowed out for something greater. Because that is our truth. That life keeps moving forward. And we get to choose moment by moment, moment by moment. To the sage, all of life is a movement towards perfection. I know that for each of us. I know that for this community and this world. And even in the moments when it seems like it is not that, acknowledging that there is the cycle of creation, destruction, rebirth, that there's fallow ground between the harvest and the planting. And that the truth requires our care. We show up. And thank you for showing up.